Hello, beautiful warriors. First of all, happy holidays to all of you. This is really impromptu, and Betty and I are just relaxing here by the tree, and I thought I'd send out a holidays, Christmas and a New Year's message. I wanted to share with you some of my intentions for the new year 2022. As all of you know, since 2019 the world had kind of become a really different place, and as difficult as it is, it's certainly, every individual who went through this situation that we had for the last 2 years had been presented with opportunities for growth and opportunities to examine some of the things that some of the ways that we conduct ourselves and our lives that may require some reinvestigation and examination to whether or not we can continue to sustain that way. For myself, a lot of things had happened since 2019. I remember that in 2019, that was when I turned 30. It was a big year for me. I decided to travel across Canada from my home of Toronto. I had a vision when I was in a sweat lodge to go to an island in the remote corners of northern British Columbia, an island called Haida Gwaii. Haida Gwaii is a very spiritual island. When I finally arrived there, it was in the summer solstice, and if you can imagine where Alaska is, Haida Gwaii is, you can see Alaska from Haida Gwaii. And I spent some time there, despite all odds of making it there. It's a difficult place to get to. Yet nonetheless, I was able to get there, and with the generosity of strangers, I found lodging. It was extremely expensive there, and this individual, the person who served me at the restaurant, actually invited me to a little gathering, and invited me to her home. Even let me borrow her car so that I could drive across the island. I got to surf there in Haida Gwaii. It was a very beautiful experience. It's nothing quite that island. It's very mystical, very powerful. Ravens and eagles outnumber people. So I then took a boat all the way down to Vancouver Island. It's a long ride, and along the way I was greeted with orcas, and that was the first time I've ever seen orcas in the wild, but they were so beautiful in this kind of gorge, a channel. It was one of the most memorable experiences I've ever had. And I stayed in Victoria for the summer, and I studied French. After which I met incredible friends who to this day I maintain contact with. And then I decided to go to China to study traditional Chinese medicine, to do an externship in August. There I turned 30 at the Great Wall of China. And then I flew back to Toronto. I left my car with my friend in Vancouver. So I flew back to Toronto, and I started my last year of school, and something happened where I was expelled from my clinic internship. I failed an exam, and I discovered that, and I told the school about it, and then they decided to take me out of my clinical internship. It was around in September. So October came. My grandfather in the Philippines turned 100, and because I was kicked out of school, I decided to go back to the Philippines after 10 years of not coming home. I decided to come back. Very impromptu, kind of like this video. And there I spent Christmas 2 years ago in the Philippines. I saw my grandfather for the last time. It was an honor to spend time with him. My grandfather was a very modest man, a very, very honorable man. He had 10 children of his own. One of his children had, my uncle had a physical and mental disability. And I think that's one of the reasons why he stayed alive for so long, is that he took care of my uncle the very last day. And that uncle happened to be the one that came after my dad. So my dad was very close to him. And on top of that, he also adopted 10 more children when his brother died. So there was 20 children in this household in the slums of Manila. That's where my grandfather lived. And I'm quite proud of that. That slum, which is the district of Tondo, Manila, used to be a really powerful empire before the Philippines was colonized by Spain. It was probably the most powerful empire in the country, and it was and what is called by historians Indianized, meaning that it's a Hindu influences of Hindu and Islam. So if you've ever been to a place called Bali, it's very similar. Anyway, it was, my grandfather was also a professor, a chemistry professor at the university. He was in fact a dean, and he was invited to a celebration. He won an award for being the oldest engineer in the country, and I insisted that we go, despite, you know, some opposition from my relatives saying that he's too old. And I'm glad that I fought for it, because that was the last time he got to leave the house. We even had to carry him down the stairs. He could still walk at the time, but you know, 100 years old. He made a speech, got to learn a lot about him. They grew up in poverty, and he fought his life. He fought poverty. He fought big corporations like Procter & Gamble, and he innovated and invented a lot of things, and advanced the field of chemistry. He's one of the first few engineers in the country. One of his inventions was banana ketchup, which is really popular in the Philippines, although he's not credited for it because he gave the patent away. He also invented a test kit on how to test for levels of vitamin A, I believe, in oil. all sorts of things. And it was there that I experienced a near-death experience while I was surfing. It was there where I got my first tattoo.
Punong tao.